I want to say unequivocally that I apologize for not being as clear about my family history.
Why won't he resign now?
Why is it that this Prime Minister just won't fire that minister?
His question, as he was sitting down, called the Minister of Employment and Workforce Development Cocaine Randy. That is extremely unparliamentary, and I ask you, Mr. Speaker, to ask him to withdraw that remark. Thank you.
Speaker, I'm sure that I was referring to the other Randy as Cocaine Randy.
Randy Boissonnault has been proven to be a fraud. He has no business serving in cabinet. He needs to resign immediately.
And you spoke on the phone that day to your business partner, Stephen Anderson, correct?
There was a one-minute phone call.
It's a yes or no
followed
question.
A text that I received from Pure Relator asking for an account to be settled. I texted Mr. Anderson. He called me back.
The Prime Minister knew that the minister was directing his business illegally from inside cabinet. He knew the minister had claimed there was another Randy when there was no other Randy. He knew that the minister had falsely claimed to be Indigenous in order to take money away from real Indigenous people.
What happens when a senior Liberal MP finds himself at the center of explosive allegations, false identity claims, unethical business dealings, and a shocking cover-up? That's exactly what unfolded recently, as Randy Boissonnault, a prominent figure in Justin Trudeau's cabinet, faced the heat during a fiery ethics committee hearing. The accusations? Misleading the nation about his ties to an Indigenous-owned company and benefiting from federal contracts under questionable circumstances. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. The Liberal Party's attempts to shield Boissonnault sparked chaos, with opposition MPs accusing them of trying to bury the truth. Points of order, partisan clashes, and explosive revelations, it's a political showdown you don't want to miss. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more updates on Canada's political drama. What triggered the scandal? It all began when Conservative MP Michael Barrett brought the heat during a recent Ethics Committee session, leveling a series of damning accusations against Randy Boissonnault.
We hear it might be a Randeep, but we're going to find out. Next week we've got two individuals in the Randy Boissonnault scandal who are going to be coming to committee. Well, I hope it'll be before the House rises. Randy was involved in a demand for a $500,000 deposit that's now the subject of litigation.
At the heart of the controversy lies Boissonnault's past business dealings with Global Health Imports, GHI, a company that applied for federal contracts specifically designated for Indigenous-owned businesses. Barrett alleged that Boissonnault falsely positioned himself as Indigenous to qualify for these contracts. Barrett didn't hold back. He accused Boissonnault of lying about owning 50% of GHI and misleading the committee about his involvement in the company's operations during his time as a cabinet minister. Even more damning were text messages found on Boissonnault's former business partner's phone.
With regards to the infamous text message featured by a global news story, this was an unfortunate autocorrect suggesting it was Randy,
which Barrett claimed showed direct involvement in GHI's dealings, despite Boissonnault's earlier denials. One of the most explosive claims? That GHI, under Boissonnault's partial ownership, cited Indigenous identity in its federal applications, an assertion Boissonnault denies making. He shifted the blame to his business partner and claimed he had no knowledge of these submissions. But Barrett wasn't buying it. It stretches reason and belief, he argued, pointing out that someone named Randy was mentioned in GHY's dealings with government officials. Was this just a coincidence, or was Boissonnault caught in a web of his own making? This fiery opening exchange set the stage for what would become one of the most contentious ethics hearings in recent memory. Procedural chaos and partisan warfare. As the Ethics Committee session progressed, it quickly devolved into a battlefield of procedural chaos. Conservative MP Michael Barrett, determined to expose Randy Boissonnault, came armed with tough questions and pointed accusations. However, Liberal MPs were equally prepared to push back, employing every parliamentary tool at their disposal to interrupt, deflect, and protect their colleague. It started with a series of points of order raised by Liberal MPs, challenging Barrett's language and accusing him of violating parliamentary decorum. The term liar became a particular sticking point, with Barrett's use of it drawing immediate objections. Liberal MP Benjamin Carr jumped in, demanding that Barrett retract his statement. Barrett, unfazed, sarcastically retorted, "All together now, point of order," highlighting what he perceived as a coordinated effort to derail his questioning. Committee Chair Jamie Schmale tried to maintain order but faced his own set of challenges. Liberal MPs, including Carr, began questioning Schmale's timekeeping, accusing him of bias in allowing Barrett extended questioning time. Schmale firmly defended his impartiality, but the constant interruptions created a chaotic atmosphere, turning the hearing into a political spectacle. Despite the procedural roadblocks, Barrett pressed on, accusing Boissonnault of hiding behind the Ethics Commissioner's findings. He argued that the Commissioner's initial investigation was incomplete because Boissonnault allegedly withheld critical information, including text messages later retrieved from his former business partner's phone. The committee session became a microcosm of the deep partisan divisions within Canadian politics. On one side, Conservatives framed the issue as emblematic of Liberal corruption and lack of accountability. On the other hand, Liberal MPs worked to disrupt Barrett's momentum and protect their party's image, all while avoiding direct engagement with the allegations against Boissonnault. Boissonnault's defense, does it hold up? Under fire from relentless questioning, Randy Boissonnault attempted to defend himself, but his explanations raised more questions than they answered. The centerpiece of his defense was his claim that he never personally identified as Indigenous. Instead, he stated that his adoptive great-grandmother was Métis, and that his references to Cree heritage were based on family stories he believed to be true. However, this narrative didn't sit well with opposition MPs or Indigenous leaders. NDP MP Laurie Eidlaut, who is Inuk, pressed Boissonnault on which Cree nation his family belonged to, a question he couldn't answer. Pretendianism is not only harmful, it is fraud, Eidlaut stated, cutting through Boissonnault's vague explanations. The controversy deepened when Boissonnault admitted to using the term non-status adopted Cree to describe his heritage during a past conversation with an Indigenous researcher. He argued that he was trying to convey his family's background, but acknowledged that the term was misleading and apologized for any confusion it caused. Then came the issue of global health imports, GHI. Boissonnault vehemently denied any involvement in GHI's applications for Indigenous-focused federal contracts, blaming his former business partner Stephen Anderson for the misrepresentation. However, text messages retrieved from Anderson's phone painted a murkier picture, with mentions of a Randy involved in the company's dealings. When questioned about why he hadn't sued Anderson for allegedly using his name without consent, Boissonnault said he had started the process of legal action. However, this explanation did little to satisfy Conservative MP Michael Cooper, who accused Boissonnault of deflecting responsibility. Boissonnault's shifting narrative and reliance on technicalities left many unconvinced. His attempts to portray himself as a victim of circumstance only fueled the perception that he was dodging accountability, Liberal infighting, and damage control. The fallout from the Boissonnault scandal has sent shockwaves through the Liberal Party, exposing cracks in its facade of unity. As the Ethics Committee hearing unfolded, Liberal MPs found themselves scrambling to defend one of their own, while simultaneously attempting to contain the political damage. The session's frequent interruptions, largely driven by Liberal MPs raising points of order, highlighted the party's strategy to shield Boissonnault from direct questioning. While they argued for maintaining decorum, opposition MPs accused them of trying to obstruct the investigation. The tactic backfired, as it reinforced the perception that the Liberals were more interested in damage control than accountability. The controversy has also sparked internal criticism. Prominent voices within the Liberal Party have expressed frustration with the handling of the Boissonnault situation. Privately, some MPs worry that the scandal has undermined the party's credibility on issues like ethics and reconciliation with Indigenous communities. Adding to the tension is the broader narrative of Liberal hypocrisy. Opposition MPs have been quick to highlight how Trudeau's government has championed reconciliation and diversity while failing to address allegations of cultural appropriation and ethical misconduct within its own ranks. Meanwhile, Boissonnault's resignation from cabinet has done little to quell the outrage. His critics argue that stepping down was a calculated move to avoid further scrutiny while still maintaining his position as an MP. The question remains, will Trudeau's government take decisive action, or will they continue to deflect and delay? For now, the scandal surrounding Boissonnault has become a lightning rod for criticism of the Liberal Party's leadership and integrity. As the political fallout continues, the party faces mounting pressure to address these issues head-on or risk further erosion of public trust. The fallout from Randy Boissonnault's Ethics Committee hearing is far from over. As the Liberals scramble to contain the damage and opposition parties sharpen their attacks, one thing is clear: Canadians deserve better from their leaders. Whether it's the allegations of cultural appropriation, the murky business dealings, or the chaotic handling of the controversy, this scandal has raised serious questions about the state of Canadian politics. It's up to voters to demand accountability, integrity, and real leadership from those in power. What do you think? Should Randy Boissonnault face further consequences? And what does this scandal say about the Trudeau government's commitment to transparency? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue to bring you the stories that matter. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.